we quickly go into Dünmje. Now let's looking at this table here. Look, the first table, looking at it, and to explain to us, and each of the steps, like there's 4 sessions. The first session is a conduction. The first one is reality and how you. The second category is proceeding. And then the third one, the yoga, is from the heart. And then it uses as a guideline for see how you progress from your practice. And the second session is how you repeat yourself, and then you. Now it teaches you that the first is you focus, then you free yourself from all the game, and then everything become as one taste yoga, and then you don't have to practice, no practice, and then you gotta follow each steps and practice it, and you gotta pay great attention to each detail and each point, and you gotta persevere. So you need to take refuge, practice put the heart, repentance, and you gotta accumulate one's merit. You have to understand, and it's the first one is like you need to use a theory and conduct it. And then now this one it says you gotta honor, you gotta give offering, you gotta repent, and then as you wishes, turn the Dharma wheel and beseeching Buddha to stay, and you good dedications. Now and you have to do the practices. You have to repent, you pay homage. Does it mean that you're already complete? No, this one here, the third category is yoga. And you gotta look at your body as your own shrine. And your body is all and all is one. Now what is the most supreme? The most supreme category is be free and act naturally. Turn to Buddhism, it has category, and they're trying to explain it. But did you know it's not easy to give you the answer, because it takes time. Grandmaster give teaching and takes them 4 years to explain the 4 categories. Now this is book session. This reading book session. After you hear my view, then you can read. Take your time to read it. And this book is called The Great Perfection in 9 Steps. Now, why is it so important? We talk about this 4th category in Untitled Dharma. So important. You know, this teaching some other Maha Buddha. And this practice translates to 5 Buddha, and 5 Buddhas pass it to Vajrasattva, and Vajrasattva pass it on to one of the celestial prince in the 33rd realm, and then pass it to Vajrasi, and then passing on, and then pass it to Padmasambhava's guru. Forgot the name. So the name is Shili. I'm grateful that it helped me to, and then Padmasambhava. This is how this lineage passing one to another, and then at the end passing on to us widely. And it's really emphasized. There are 4 parts in this Tantric Buddhism. Now, what is the 4 parts, 4 categories? And in fact, this is explained in 5 great canyons of books, but I summarize it. I want you to see on the screen right now. What is the great perfections in the 9 steps? In the 9 level. If you, the first level, when you're on the theories, is you first a grave offering, and then you doing the preliminary practice and the yoga practice and then at the very end you like a roll. But in fact, I told you the pitfall teaching of this in the great perfection for the great perfection in the 9 levels. And in fact, it's all these 4 categories is not individual category, have no relation to another. In fact, when you practice it, you practice all 4 together. And some people, although be able to have personal yoga practice, but how come they are not have higher achievement? Because you have to practice what you got to practice according to the teaching. You gotta build the foundation. Now where there's oxygen outside, you inhale. What does that mean? Yes, the air is fresh. It's good for your body. It's good for your health. But when you inhale and you exhale, and they tell you when you do that, you can purify your karma. Is it possible? No, it's not. Because just because someone say it, then you think this is validate? No, unless it's told and teaches by the 5 Buddhas. And yeah, but when Grandmaster tell you, when you inhale, exhale, then you will, your karma will be cleansed. So we talk about is because Grandmaster authenticized it, verify this, validate it, and that then it will be effective because it's transmitted by the 5 Buddha, and it passes on all the way down to Grandmaster. As a result, there's a blessing. There will have the power of merit in there, because there is empowerment. And when you receive an empowerment, then whatever you do, then there's a result. So now you inhale white light and exhale the black smoke. Yes, you be able. Yes, for sure. This is a form of purification, and it's effective. This is what we call the 4 parts in. That means it's the carrying through. Because you're carrying it through, then yes, at work. In fact, you may not have attained personal achievement, but the thing is, But if you follow the teaching, then but if it will be effective because there is a blessing. But do you know that when you don't understand and you know what happened, that will be a disaster if you don't understand it. Remember, there is the Phoenix King practice. It tell you that the teaching is this: if you the Peacock King practice can remove earthquake disaster, but you need to follow Grandmaster's teaching is you need to take out the soil from four corners, and when you put it back after the practice and avoid disaster of earthquake. But someone put fire ashes in it, so then it will not work. Grandmaster before mentioned this practice can be conducted once in your lifetime. What? Because Grandmaster is so compassion and fire. But Grandmaster said only if nothing happened once you can do it once in one time in life, but because of compassion on Grandmaster, you can do it once every 7 years. So now we talk about the smoke offering. Smoke, but someone conduct a smoke offering, but there's a disaster. Why? Because they did not follow Grandmaster's teaching to his exact teaching. You got to know that if you do more than what Grandmasters say, then disaster can happen. And Grandmasters say, no, in fact. Now let's go. You know, when the light is set up. In fact, you know, when the electricity is set up, what happened? You just press a button, but with one finger, the light will go on. But some people want to turn the light with 2, 3, 4 fingers. Now, in fact, practice of Dharma, it's only about an hour be finished. But someone believe that we should practice like the Tibetan yoga. They put it to practice 3 to 4 or 5 years, 4 or 5 hours. Then otherwise, it's not suffice. But the thing is, people they don't understand is you gotta follow Grandmaster's teaching. It's just if you add too many things in it, it's not the same because this is not the lineage teaching. Now, in the first category, we practice great offering, follow liturgy, but you can't see the principal deity. And because you follow this practice from the liturgy, what happened? You get closer, and you're more familiar with the principal deity. The first category that your principal deity is your masters. But if you be able to get close, then become your friend. But if you can have total yoga response, then you are the principal yoga. Principal yoga is you. Now, do you understand what I'm talking about? The first category, when we talk about practice, It means practice. You practice it because you need to accumulate the merit. This is the first category. As someone asked me, I want to chase after this girl. They asked me how. Then okay, there is a lesson. How do you chase a girl for? And that means I gotta teach you how it's conducted. On Monday you call her. You give her flowers. Then you give her a phone message. Then third day you movie. Then take her out for dinner on the 4th days. If you do this every day, do you think the lady will start to know you? Because every day you send flowers, you pass message, take her out for dinner, and then if in fact when you've just first sending flowers and send her message, do you think that she will right away have a relationship with you? No, but if you do these actions, give her the flowers every Monday, you give her flowers, and suddenly you realize and then you will start to notice this girl. You buy so many different type of flowers, but you see the girl start putting red flowers on the table in her office. Then you know she like red flowers. And then when you send message to her, you don't have any response. But when you send jokes, she respond to you. Now you know who she is. Now third day you take her out to see a movie, and she always refuse, but she likes to see love story. And then she accept your invitation. Then you know what type of movie she likes. Now the 4th day you take her out for dinner. And then you notice that she always picks spicy food in the menu. Then you know she likes spicy food. Then Monday when you give her flowers, Monday is a flower day. Then you will not send her anything except bread. Then second day because you know what she likes now, you will give her funny messages on the phone. Take her to a movie, then what you do? Love stories. And when you take her for a meal, then what happened? Then you always order spicy food. Then you know what happened? She will start to have interest in you. And then this is the same thing when you do your practice in the Dharma. The first step, when you just conduct it, we call I conduct practice, let's say. Then what happened? You start to have a reaction. You have total achieve. In fact, before everything you do, it represent a love. That means, what is, because with the less of 4 category, let's put it together again. You act. You conduct. And then when you do it, when you first are plan doing it, but you gotta find out the main point, what the deity like. That's your second step. So you start doing gift offering, and then when you practice the Dharma, you start to you see. And I tell you that when we practice, do you know what happened? A lot of time, our ego come forward as you practice more and more in your practice. Why? Because now let's talk about the great homage. what happened was great homage. When you bow down, you are humbling yourself. But when you're arguing, you're angry. You do not practice humility. And when when your husband and wife and they argue, if you ask them to kneel down, for sure they would not. But when you practice and you eliminate your ego, then homage or not, it's not a big deal. But in fact, homage, if you do not practice to improve your personality, then homage, what all it is what? The homage is just a physical practice. It has nothing to do with lower your ego down. Now, why some people chant so diligently chanting, but how come they do not progress? How come the faith is still the faith is not strong? They will give up. Because when they chant, they did not chant from the heart. So therefore, it's not effective. Now do you understand? So when now the third category is like a response. When you have response, it means two person, or you and the Dharma, your principal deity can be as one. Then it's a yoga. That means it's oneness. Then, what is the next step beyond that in your achievement? Is you can be like a ball, because as Master was saying earlier, that when your girlfriend totally fall in love with you, you don't need to send flowers, take her movies, and anything like that. So you can drop everything, but because your girlfriend believes you love her. Now coming back to what the tantric practice, when you first practice, you practice you gotta use the outward power, mental power, physical power, and your hand mudra, and you gotta know the meaning. Now, so you start from that. That means when you practice the first category, is you need a shrine. You gotta follow the liturgy, the practice exactly like you need offering to practice it. And you need to have a statue in front of you. Everything you practice, you need to have a material. You gotta have a focus. So when you first start, then what happened? That's why if you want to practice five Buddha Dharma practice, you need to have 5 Buddhas in front of you. But if you go into the second category, then it doesn't matter, because you know what the 5 Buddhas are like, because you already understand the real meaning of it. And if you be able to let the 5 Buddha live in your heart, then we talk about the yoga. It means the minute you think of them, you will touch the Buddha, and so that means yoga. Now the supreme level achievement is it's that the 5 Buddhas everywhere, not just so you don't have to do anything deliberately, intentionally, because you see everything is just a dream, it's a mirage. So what happened? The 4th category is first, when you practice, that you need the 5 Buddha statue, but later on you do not be so everything. You do not have it so intricate. You don't need to have 5. and then you can pick up 5 stone. You can have 5 stone to represent the 5 Buddha. So, but you still have to do it. But yoga, you don't need to do it. You use your heart. You use the power of the heart. And then you don't have to move your body. Just let the heart do it, and the 5 Buddha will appear. Now the most supreme is you just let things fall naturally. Now talk about the mind. When you first start learn tantric dharma, everything you do it's very rough, and because you're not familiar, but as you repeatedly do it, now you become more detailed because you understand it. You catch the main accent, the important point. So when you keep doing it, then what happened? The yoga practice start. Why do I pay homage? Because you're humbling yourself. So the mind you have to think with more refined detail. But you enter into as you progress, but you understand. First, you're just doing it for action. Then you understand why you're doing it. And then after, you can be more in-depth detail. And at the very end, your mind can let go because you already know within your heart. You don't have to think. It just happened. Now talk about the Maha Mudra. And then what happened? You gotta focus. Then when you focus, you gotta, because you cannot make any mistake. You want to miss any step. But then later, and the second, when you understand more what happened, you can let go of the game. Because why? Because you can focus. Now talk about going back to when talk about 5 statues. Before you gotta have really dignified statue in front of you. But as you understand the 5 Buddha in your heart, then what happened? You can use the 5 rocks represented. When you understand it, then because they have the 5 Buddhas in your heart, then you don't really need any images in front of you. And so just, and then because when you understand it all, then what happened? What under the 5 Buddhas, when you can, and because you understand it, and the 5 Buddhas in your heart, then you become as one. And there's one taste, then you don't have to focus, or you do not have to attach to any outward procedure. We call it a game. And then if you really progress to the supreme level, then you don't have to really practice, because you have reached the top. You don't have to practice it because you already attained it, the Dharma in your heart. In fact, when you practice the Dharma, it was very important. Essence is you cannot doubt the Buddha is not your grandmaster is not a Buddha, and then you can never doubt this Dharma is not effective. This Dharma will not help you to have achievement. When you pay homage, when you practice homage, you can ask questions saying, would this homage help me to subjugate my ego? You can ask how can it help you? But because the 5 Buddha already tell you so you just believe it. Now let's talk about the Rebirth Mudra. Grandmaster already told you. You just chant Rebirth Mantra. When you do the 4 preliminary practice, Grandmaster just told you just chant the Amitabha Rebirth Mantra is good enough, then you do not want to add more. Namo Amidabo, yeah, that's called Rebirth Mantra. And in fact, how come when Grandmaster is good, though how come when I chant the Rebirth Mantra, how come I don't feel it? But then you can ask, how come it's not active? How come it's not effective? Because then you will find out, oh, maybe because then you really find out why does that not affect? Because the reason I don't understand it because I do not have enough faith, or I do not have. When I do it, I have not focused enough. Then you know what the problem is. Now we talk about homage again. When you start to observe yourself. When you do great homage, did you really let your ego go? When you do great offering, are you willing to become more generous? See, and in fact, you gotta be able to observe yourself in more refined search. So this is the second step. You practice it just as a formulation. Then you start to examine yourself, that from everything you do repeatedly, did you see any changes in yourself? And then you know that when you start practice the Dharma, you seems to put too much in it. Then what happened? That means you're thinking too much. You too complicated. You not simplify yourself. Means you don't believe in Grandmaster's teaching enough. So that's why you start to put in your own thought into it. You start adding more. The Rebirth Mantra, you add in the Zhen Formless Victorious Buddha Mother Mantra. I hope that my brief explanation can help you, and I hope that your teaching help you understand the Dharma better. You'll be able to have unionize. You'll be able to have a strong connection, your principal deity. Thank you for the Master and like his teaching. Oh, next week 1:30, we have Master Lian trying to give you teaching. Book 96 and Living Buddha's teaching. Living Buddha, the essence of teaching.